Shalom. I want to start this off by giving honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Kakwadash. Peace and blessings, peace and salutations to the elect men of Israel, starting with the other apostles of GMS on down, to the rest of you brothers and the brothers I labor with, who all push forth the will and doctrine of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, in all faith, truth, and sincerity, according to the true understanding of the scriptures. To all of you, I say Shalom. So this is just a quick lesson, Lord one through the Spirit. And it was just something I was meditating on the other day. And it was I was taking a walk and I was just thinking about it. Just because of a few scriptures that have been being brought out as of recent in regards to this word, the Lord's ministry, right? Meditating on it, looking to obtain it, and looking to hold on to it, and the significance or the importance of having the Lord's wisdom, having his knowledge, his understanding over everything else, right? And the one main example that came to mind was Solomon, right? And specifically the moment when he was talking to the Lord, and the Lord said, like, ask what you want, I'll give it, roughly paraphrasing, and how he asked for the Lord's wisdom, right? And really the spirit that he was in, the intention that he had was pure, right? Was completely in alignment with Yahweh Shai, or Salaki, with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? And with his mission, right? Which is keeping us in the stead that we supposed to be in, right? Us being in our right minds, us being in the right spirit that we're supposed to be in, us being in the right position, the right status, the right hierarchy, right? We're the Lord's portion, right? We're his chosen people, right? We're a special people unto the Lord above everybody else upon the face of the earth, right? We're the lot of his inheritance, We're supposed to be the judges of the earth, right? And we're supposed to be that representation within the world, within the earth. And with us having his spirit and us being aligned with him, we're able to receive all of the blessings that were said to be given to those that took heed to him, right? Which you can see in Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter, starting at the top of the chapter. Same with when the covenant was made with Abraham, right? And his seed after him, the chosen seed after him, right? Including the promises that's written in the New Testament in regards to what's to be given to those that are of the Lord's Spirit, right? That are making themselves to be in his image, which is to have his wisdom and knowledge, right? And you're looking and seeking to have it and to hold it and to keep it and use it for the right reasons, And that's what Solomon did. And because that was his inkling, that was his mind, that's where his mind was on, right? When the Lord tried his reins, the Lord gave him to that, and it flourished, right? Because of Solomon seeking the Most High's wisdom and knowledge first, it allowed him to receive the riches, the wealth, the honor, and everything else, And with his account, with his life, right, with his story, you're able to see how when he turned away, how everything, fell away with it. So it's just a prime example of really what you see, like Matthew 6:33 going into, seeking the kingdom first, and everything else shall be given, right? The reason why Solomon was able to be called the wisest man to have ever lived and the richest man to have ever lived is because he had the Lord's wisdom and knowledge, and he chose to receive that first, right? He chose to make his mind be aligned, to be likened unto the Most High's mind. Our thoughts are not his thoughts, neither are our ways his ways. So it makes sense for us to be aligned with him. It makes sense to have our ways be aligned with him. And the scriptures further show the beauty in that, the importance of that, right? And how that leads to us receiving salvation. So that's what I want to get into. So starting with this, I'm going to read 2 Corinthians, and Lord willing, this be edifying, right? 2 Corinthians 1 and verse 6. It says, and Solomon went up thither to the brazen altar before the Lord, which was at the tabernacle of the congregation, and offered 1,000 burnt offerings upon it. And that's something that's spiritual too, because we give spiritual offerings, right? Spiritual sacrifices, which is us doing the work, being teachers, right? Doing the videos, right? Making sure that within our daily lives, we still standing for the Lord, and we holding on to his wisdom to where we actually apply it within our walk, and we lean upon it when it comes to giving wisdom advice to others, and that I want to say that makes me think of real quick. I'm gonna just grab it real fast. I want to say that is 1 Timothy. Let me see. Yep, beautiful. 1 Timothy 4 and 15. It says, in point 16, meditate upon these things, give thyself wholly to them, right? And what are those things? Those things are, really, I'll start at verse 13 because it tell you there. It says, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine, right? So it's this word being ultimately Yahweh Shai, right? Being Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, being of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right? It's this word that you want to meditate on, right? So meditate upon these things, verse 15. Meditate upon these things, give thyself wholly to them, right? That's that being his understanding, his discipline, his doctrine, right? His ways of doing things, his point of view. You wanna mold your mind and your spirit to him and him alone, right? Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right? Which is just to say, he is being the Most High in the name Bahashem Yahweh Shai, right? Who people ignorantly call Jesus Christ, right? His true name in the Lashon Kodash, the Holy Tongue, right? The Hebrew tongue is Yahweh Shai, right? So it says, meditate upon these things, give wholly to them, that thy profiting may appear to all. It says, take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. Right? And what's beautiful about that is that completely aligns with the mentality that Solomon was in, right? With what he went on to say in regards to him speaking to the Lord. So reading on verse 7, it says, it's in the 2nd Chronicles, the 1st chapter. In that night did God appear unto Solomon and said unto him, ask what Ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said unto the Most High, Thou hast shewed great mercy unto David my father, and hast made me to reign in his stead. Now, O Lord Yahweh, let thy promise unto David my father be established. For thou hast made me king over a people like the dust of the earth in multitude. You see, so he's being considerate. He's thinking carefully, which is what that word meditation goes into. Meditate, right? To think carefully upon, to devise. So he's thinking carefully about the situation. And with him being cautious and being considerate of the situation, he goes on to say this. Verse 10, give me now wisdom and knowledge, right? For what purpose? He says, that I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this thy people that is so great? You see? So he's understanding this is a great multitude of people. And that's a big responsibility. So with him being considerate of this, right, he's now paying attention to what's really needed and to be able to help this people, help govern this people, help to make this people all right, you know? He understands the Lord, God Almighty, Allah Shadia, he's the one that created everything and created all these things, right? That specifically there's people that's innumerable, right? So he's like, in order for me to be able to take on this responsibility, I need a certain level of intelligence, a certain spirit, right? A certain way of thinking, which is him understanding I need to be aligned with the Most High. And it makes sense because he's the source. So we got to keep that in mind with what we do. We need to go back to the source. So he says, give me now wisdom and knowledge that I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this thy people that is so great? Right? And verse 11 says, and God, Yahweh, said to Solomon, because this was in thine heart. You see, is what he truly was seeking, what he truly sought out, what he truly desired. Right? Which scriptures talk about that, you know. What am I thinking of? I want to say it could be this one. What am I thinking of? Yep. Let me see. Well, actually, no. Let me get this one first, because that's a good one too. But I think this is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, verse 4. Psalms 37 of verse 4. Delight thyself also in the Lord, you see, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. You see? So, with you having your mind on things that's of the Lord and things that's conducive with what he wants, right? The Lord gonna give it to you because it's only going to bring forth more of what he wants. You know? So, jumping back here, right, verse 11, it says, and the Most High Yahweh said to Solomon, because this was in thine heart, thou hast not asked riches, wealth, or honor, nor the life of thine enemies, neither yet has asked a long life, right? So he's like, because you didn't ask for the riches, the wealth, the honor, right? Your enemies' lives, neither you seeking to have a long life, right? But has asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, that thou mayest judge my people over whom I have made thee king. You see? So he's saying, like, because you thinking, you making sense, because you really tapping in and looking to be aligned with me, it says wisdom and knowledge is granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor, such as none of the kings have had that have been before thee, neither shall there any after thee have the like. You see? So that's what's so beautiful about this, you know? Because I'm going to get a scripture to add to the point real quick. I want to say that's 6 and 2. No. 2 and 6, I think it is. Let me see. Yep. 1 John 2 and 6, it says, he that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. Right? So with us being aligned with the Lord and walking in the same way that he did, walking in his footsteps, right? We gonna have the same results, you know? And on top of that, we gonna do greater works, as the scriptures go on to say. You know what I'm saying? As he went on to say, Yahushua, right? Our Savior, you know, the Messiah. He said we shall do greater works than him, you know? So with us having our mind aligned with him and looking to have the Lord's wisdom, looking to keep the Lord's wisdom and apply it to ourselves and holding it to be of great value, right? Considering what the magnitude of having the Lord's wisdom over everything else, it's gonna put us in position to be able to receive the same things, you know, because just as we know with Yahushua, which who was Solomon, right, through the Spirit, if you could receive it, just as we know that he was persecuted how he was, and how he said if they hated me, they hated you. Same case gonna be, you know what I'm saying, on the righteous side of things, you know, which is us enduring onto the end. Us enduring onto the end, we gonna be able to receive of that salvation, you know. We gonna be able to receive of those blessings that come with it, right? That's why we are to be looking to trust in the Lord's wisdom, you know. And I'm gonna get an example of that, also coming from Solomon, you know. Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 7, it says, wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given me. You see, that's what was happening in the Second Chronicles, right? The first chapter. You see, and you see how the header says Solomon's prayer for wisdom. So he says here, right, Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 7, wherefore I prayed and understanding was given me. You see, so he made intercession. He looked to inquire of the Lord. He sought out the Lord, you know. He knocked, right? And he got answered. And he got answered with understanding being there. Being given the spirit of wisdom, you know. Which spirit is the spirit of the wisdom is more moving than any other emotion, roughly paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? I think that's in this chapter. Yeah. Yep. Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 24. For wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. You see? So it's a blessing to be able to receive this, right? And it's a blessing to have this wisdom and knowledge, because it allows you to be able to attain everything while being aligned with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, you know? things that have been granted for us to receive. But you having his wisdom, and you actually applying it, you putting yourself in position to not lose something, but to be able to obtain something, right? And to maintain it. That's why we are to seek the kingdom first, and everything else should be added, you know? Just to grab it, I'm going to read on my other joint real quick. Matthew 6 and verse 33. It says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. You see? And all these things shall be added unto you. So that's what we need to be seeking. That's what we need to be looking for, right? We need to be looking to receive of the kingdom. And part of that kingdom is having the Lord's Spirit, having his words, his knowledge, his understanding in your mind, right? So much to the point to where it's completely a part of you. Your spirit control your flesh, not your flesh controlling your spirit. And you in position to be able to have his name written in your foreheads. You know? You being set apart, you being in a position to where now you of the elect, you of that innumerable multitude, you know? That's what we seeking and looking for. That's what we are wanting to have truly a part of ourselves all the way to the end. To the moment that we are able to receive salvation, right? So continuing here, right? It says, wherefore I prayed and understanding was given me. I called upon the Most High, God, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches nothing in comparison of her. Says, neither compare I unto her any precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is as a little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her. You see? So he understood this was the true treasure. This was the true riches. This was the true wealth. Because this is how you obtain all those things. You obtain it in a way to where it can actually be made manifest and not tarnish or tear, where moth and rust doesn't corrupt. To say that better, you know, because it's of the Lord, right? And with you having it, you're not invested to where this can take you away from the Lord, you know. Because that's why he understood all these things were vanity. Right? The one thing that's going to hold, the one thing that you're going to be able to take with you is the Lord's word. Plain and simple. Right? Continuing. It says, verse 11, all good things together came to me with her. You see, all good things together came to me with her. And innumerable riches in her hand. Man. And I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them. And I knew not that she was the mother of them. You see? So it's through that wisdom that you're going to be able to have everything else. This world don't teach you that. This world teach you to go about it how Esau want to go about it. And this is why Esau's world is coming to an end, because he's not of the Lord. He doesn't have the Lord's spirit. He doesn't have the Lord's wisdom. And that's why, Salakia, the scriptures say this, right? 1 Corinthians 3 and 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool that he may be wise. For the wisdom of this world, is the point, is foolishness with God. You see, the wisdom of this world, not the wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. The wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High, with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. You see? because they're going about it in their own way. They're trying to establish their own righteousness versus the righteousness of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You see? It says, and again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. And they're vain because they're not aligned with the Lord, right? Psalms, I think it's the 10th chapter that say that. Or is it the 2nd chapter I'm thinking of? Let me see. What am I thinking of? This is good too, but I think it's the 10th chapter I'm thinking of. Yeah, yep. Psalms 10 and verse 4. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. You see? He's not at all in his thoughts. Verse 3, it says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. You see? So he's completely against the Lord. So he's not in position to have the Lord's wisdom, you know? And that's why the Lord takes him in his own craftiness. That's why he gonna go as hard as he can, seeking whom he can devour and take down with him, right? Knowing that he has a short time. Because he understands, and he already knows he's not the Lord. He knows that we're the Lord's chosen people, right? But even in his own mind, thinking himself to be wise, is going to be his demise. And that's why you see examples of like Pharaoh having his mind being hardened, you know? It's just going to further show the Lord's power and show who the Lord truly with, you know? Those who walk in the same manner, in the same way, walking after the same steps of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? Of Yahushai. So continuing here, it says, verse 11, all good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hand. And I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them all. I learned diligently, and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches. For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth. You see? She ain't never gonna fail you. And that's why we gotta hold on to it more than ever, more than anything else. It says, which they that use become the friends of God, being commended for the gifts that come from learning. You see? So these are the things that we want to hold to. These are the things that we want to obtain. You know, these are the things that you want to keep in mind and meditate on. Think carefully on. Really take and consider having the Lord's wisdom, right, which you are able to receive, you know, from reading his word, but also the men that he set up, you know, starting with the elder apostles and bishops of GMS on down, you know, to the rest of you brothers that are within GMS, the Great Millstone, you know. Those that are truly doing the work, those that truly have the Spirit, and that are truly moved by the Spirit to be able to teach what they're able to teach, you know, holding on to that doctrine, looking to save themselves and those that hear them, right? That's what we looking to hold on to. So it's because of him looking to receive, him asking to receive the Lord's wisdom and knowledge, him having that as his first priority, right? And looking to obtain that he was able to be granted those things, you know? So that's the mentality that we want to be in, right? And I'm going to read it again, and that'll be it. 2 Chronicles 1:11. And then Yahweh said unto Solomon, because this was in thine heart, thou hast not asked riches, wealth, or honor, nor the life of thine enemies, neither yet has asked long life, but has asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, that thou mayest judge my people, over whom I have made thee king. You see? Wisdom and knowledge is granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor, and such as none of the kings have had that have been before thee, neither shall there any after thee have the like. So that's pretty much the point, you know. Solomon received riches, wealth, honor, all because he sought to get the Most High's wisdom and knowledge first. So we should be doing the same in likeness now more than ever before, because things is ramping up through the spirit, and we already know what's to come along after it. You know, a whole lot of chaos and a whole lot of vengeance from the Lord. So this is the time to be cleaving onto His wisdom, cleaving onto His word, right, and holding on to this treasure that we can have in our earthen vessels, right? So with that, I'm going to give honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Wahawah Kakwadash. Till next time, Shalom.